Yeah. All right, well, I'll try this one. This is a long, I said this is a long and very weird story, but I'll try to be as concise as possible because this story could take up his whole episode. Yeah, we have plenty of time. One of the questions I am frequently asked, if you spent 5 years in literally the empire of the dead, did you have any spiritual experiences? Do you have any ghost stories? Well, I do. One in particular. I tell it to people and I make no judgments and they can think whatever they want. All I know is what happened. I had been in Bolivia researching something called the Fiesta de las Nietitas. It's mentioned in my book and I also wrote a magazine article on it. It's one of the ultimate displays of veneration for the dead in the modern world. Every November 8th, people in Poz Bolivia who keep skulls in their house as helpers and friends take them back to the cemetery for a blessing and a giant celebration. They believe that the souls of these people are helping them in their daily lives. I had gone to a religious shrine run by a woman named Doña Ana. Doña Ana has 10, and now she's got 12, miraculous human skulls. These are considered miracle working by everybody in the neighborhood, and they come to her house to pay homage to the skulls the way they would go to a church to pay homage to the saints. I knew no one had ever photographed those skulls before, and I dearly wanted to photograph them for my research. So I went and visited her, I interviewed her, and I asked if I could photograph the skulls, and she told me it was okay. I photographed them on film, both medium format and 35mm film. The lab was able to develop it, but not print it and not scan it because of the size of the film. And initially, even from the outset, there was something strange about that film. On the bottom of one of the pictures, there was a strange blob that connected exactly to the top of the frame on the next picture. And I looked at that and I said, what is that strange blob? We couldn't tell because it was a negative. And the guy says, I have no idea what that is. And I said, could it be a chemical spill? And he says, no, it can't because it's not in the negative space between the frames. Something at the top of one went to the bottom of the next one and they meet exactly, and I have no idea what that is, and there's no way to know until you print this. I came back to the United States and came home that night. I had been on a plane for 20 hours. I was absolutely exhausted, and I put everything on the floor of the living room. When I was going to bed and falling to sleep, I turned out the light, and as I turned out the light, I heard this voice, and it sounded like a woman's voice in my ear, and it said, "Where's Anna? Where's Anna?" And I jumped out of bed, and I said, what's going on? Because I thought someone was in the house with me. Turned on the light. I'm just, I'm so exhausted, I'm becoming delusional. I'm having an auditory hallucination. So I just went back to bed. The next morning I woke up and those negatives were gone. They were just vanished off the face of the earth. They were just absolutely gone. But I was sure that I had brought them back and they were just gone. I still had that roll of 35mm film. Took it into the local lab. That afternoon I get a phone call from the lab and they say, we have something to tell you. You know that film you dropped off? It caught fire. I said, what? And they said, we were running it through the machine and the film just caught fire. It just spontaneously combusted or something. It just burst into flame. I'm not kidding. You can come down here and look. And I came down there and they showed me this charred and melted piece of film, this long strip of charred and melted film, which they said was mine, which in fact was mine because at the very tip of that roll there was one usable frame that showed a skull in Doña Ana's house. And in fact that frame, the only usable one, was what we published in the 40th Times in my article. Well, very strange, and it got stranger still. That night, I was sitting at home and I heard this thump around midnight, this big bang in the middle of my floorboards, and I looked over and I thought maybe the cats knocked something down. Absolutely nothing there. And then I heard the thump again and I realized, that thump's coming from the center of the floor, exactly where I put those film negatives. That's really weird. Every night, at the same time, for about a month, there'd be that thump. So that was my encounter during my research, and as I tell people, make of it what you will.